what you need to know. This is South Florida's Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WNN.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, we are back.
Sean, you gave me like 2 seconds notice on that.
We are back. Oh!
Whoa, we are really back.
It's going to be that same 20-second.
20-second lead-in on the boys are back in town. But it's good. It's good. I can feel it.
It's good to have you boys back.
Yes.
Whoops.
I can feel it. Was it restarting the 20 seconds? I do want to say, here we go.
You can talk over this.
Yeah, let's go.
Everyone's singing in the background. They know it.
It's not like they don't know the song, though.
Yeah, if I were in the car right now, I'd be grooving. I'd be like, yeah, I'll listen to this show on my iHeart Radio.
The boys are back in town. There we go. The boys are back in town indeed. This is Tom Trento back from South Carolina. I flew in about an hour and a half ago, landed in
South Carolina.
Got to South Carolina, got back. It was a wonderful 3 days there with the Tea Party folks. Those are the salt of the earth folks. And the other boys are back. Invisible Mike is right over there. Invisible and Disembodied Mark is right there. They're back from Orlando. They went to a Christian summit. We spoke about it on Islam a little bit in the last hour. We're going to focus primarily on the Tea Party movement, Tea Party events this past weekend. But I do want to get a couple little thoughts from both of you guys who were there. Alan Kornman gave us a good overview. But I tell you what, was it yesterday? I don't know. When did Seattle play? Yesterday?
No, Saturday.
Saturday. I stopped in my hotel room, and I was going to take a little nap because, you know, these things go late at night and all that. And I laid down, and I'm looking at this Seattle game. They're down by 20 points. And that was, when was that, Kenny? Saturday or Sunday? Seattle. Sunday.
And how did that go?
Well, here's how it went. I was watching the Seattle comeback, and I said, I will have to bow to Kenny when I come in on Monday as the god of predictions. He predicted Seattle would win. They were down by 20 points, and in like 11 minutes or whatever, they tied the game up. They went ahead actually, and but they wound up losing. So Kenny, you were the near god of sports predictions. What happened?
Actually, credit where it's due. That was your guest. I picked Atlanta.
Oh, no, I thought you said Seattle was going to win.
He
No,
said,
that was your guess.
Kenny said Seattle not on the road because they have,
Oh.
right? Didn't you?
Yeah, but who said that, who's the coach of Seattle?
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, you said he gets the team up and to win and everything.
Again, that was your guest. That's
Who was
not
the
me.
guest?
I don't remember.
That was Adam Taxon.
Oh, was that was Adam on Thursday?
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you glad I actually am
you
here
pay
when
attention
I'm
to all
here?
this stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I
so
actually
what you're
do
trying to say,
listen
to say
you
is
guys.
Kenny actually is the guy because
Yeah.
he predicted Atlanta to
Predicted
win.
Atlanta, yeah, pretty good, Kenny. Let's give Kenny a hand for the
Yeah.
prediction. All right, now who wins the two playoff games? Write this down, CJ.
I guess I'll go with San Francisco and New England.
San Francisco. I
Okay.
think San Francisco is actually going to win it all. That they just looked red hot and they just destroyed. You know.
All right. Well,
Doesn't
we'll
New
follow
England?
those.
That's the team that cheats, right?
Yes, that's a team that has the plays and.
Kenny, who's your Super Bowl prediction?
Well, not yet, not yet. We'll hold that for.
Hold that for another day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we'll
gonna
do a
hold that
special
one for-
show.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
only
yeah.
good now because
Yeah.
they're getting
Well,
close.
we'll see,
It'll
we'll
be
see.
easy later.
But the Mark and Mike, we got a guy calling in, our good friend Joe Dugan, in a little bit. What is your takeaway from the summit, Mike? Why don't you go first? Then.
No, go ahead.
All right. Well, you
He's
go first,
working.
then you go.
Yeah.
My takeaway from the summit was more overall in general, is that everybody.
This is a summit on Islam
Yeah.
at a Christian church, preparing Christians to deal with the threat of Islam, and doing it in Howard. You were there, so what did you take away from that?
Well, the big takeaway I got from it was we all think we have the silver bullet of how to solve this issue, of how to solve the Islamic issue. And whether it's coming from a constitutional phase or from a religious manner or from a Jewish manner, from supporting Israel or, a female issue or a homosexual issue, whatever issue it is that we all think we have the magic silver bullet to go in there and Islam's going to be defeated. We know what the problem is, okay? It is Islam and the Sharia and those two which are antithetic to every existence on the planet Earth, not just us, to Christians, to everything. What it has to be, the solution is everybody together working as one to defeat the entity, because that's how it was defeated when I was listening to a person, Mark Jury, in Australia.
Super guy, yeah.
And an amazing guy, and he's one to open up my light because they said that they're actually defeating and pushing back the Islamic issue in Australia, and they did it, through the legal process, through restrictive immigration policies, through a whole host of things, through support in the Catholic Church, through this and this and this and this, and that's actually the way to do it.
So he's got a model. What's the third choice? What does that mean?
That's the third
That's
choice.
his book.
That's his book. The third
Yeah.
choice. Another way to do it, and it actually works. And if you think about it in a logical sense, these guys are, from the Islamic perspective, are going after us on all fronts.
Sure.
They're going after us on the political side. They're going after us on the religious side. They're going after us on all.
I
these other
reread the explanatory memorandum.
Right.
Preparation for my talk, and I said, "Oh man, we got to do that on the air."
Well,
but they're hitting every element of society.
Right.
All right, Mike.
But that's the problem in this country, is that pretty much nobody believes this is actually happening.
Exactly. We got
So
about
step one would have
2
to be
minutes.
that you would have to believe that this is an actual threat.
Oh no, it was good, but I mean, basically, Alan and Mark both covered it perfectly. I mean, I can't really go into it any further.
Yes, you can.
I can.
What did
He won't do
what
it. You
struck
can't make
you?
him.
What struck you as?
Well, you're a
this is
Christian,
pretty
put it
cool.
that way. So, what from that point of view, what struck you about the Christian
I
specific
was-
Christian message?
I was actually very interested in the contrast of the speaker, who's a trained theologian, speaking to the people in the audience on apologetics. So literally combining logic and a thesis into a ministry, and how, because that's a very specific realm of study, and when you get into it, you open your mind, train yourself a little bit deeper. So to hear these people being briefed on apologetics, especially against something like Islam, was very interesting.
All right, apologetics for the audience is apologia, to speak the defense. Two Greek words. Simply means to defend the doctrines of Christianity. It doesn't mean to apologize for. And an apology is, when you say you're sorry for something. If you present an apologetic, you're presenting a series of principles that defend a particular position you have. So Mike is simply saying that these instructors, these trained guys, were teaching the audience apologetics, how to defend their Christian faith. But the other end of apologetics is, the polemic side is, how do you argue with the group that you're going to be speaking with? You have to know what they believe, why they believe what they do, and then it's a logical debate. And this is where Christianity and Judaism live. They live in the world of intellectual debate and rigorous thought. And, both sides can't be right. I mean, Jesus is either the Messiah or he isn't. God is either Allah or he isn't. So these are very serious issues. They need to be debated out. We don't kill each other. If somebody believes differently, fine. But if your system says, if those guys don't follow it, we have to kill them, then we have Islam.
Yeah, then we have a problem.
And one of the things I did find, I did learn, from, that Christianity has lost the polemical side recently in years to go out there and attack the other faith of what their core beliefs are. I mean, most of your philosophers throughout the world history have all been masters of polemics.
Yep.
And
that's why I went into the work I went into.
And also, if you look at it this way, is segueing from our football analogy, is you have to have both sides to win the game. You can't just be all defense, all
right. Exactly.
And so you have to have the polemics, which is the offense,
yep,
and the apology, which is the defense.
Yep.
And
but
they both have to work
at it.
But part of the breakdown in the West in general has been.
Where are you?
I'm over here. I don't know. Well, he tells me where to sit. I can't see you across anymore.
Stay there for the camera. It doesn't matter. People
yeah.
have to see you. I don't have to see you.
Part of the problem we have is the Christians in the West have lost their knowledge and their sense of who they are, and how can you do what you're talking about if you don't know who you are anymore?
We're going to continue that in a minute, but we have been for a long time wanting to integrate the jihad, the Sharia issue and the jihad into the Tea Party movement. And through the years, there's been some resistance by some of the Tea Party leaders to deal with national security.
Right.
Well, we found one leader in South Carolina who said, you know what? We have to have a comprehensive understanding, the Tea Party does, of the issues confronting Americans today, and the Islamic threat is significant. So thank you, Joe. Let's give Joe a hand for putting on the Tea Party.
I have his bio up on here from the agenda. If you.
Yeah, we're going to go through it. Yeah. Joe, how are you?
Good, Tom. Tom, how are you doing?
Good.
Hi, Joe.
Did you sleep last night? Did you sleep last night?
Like a baby.
All right.
Oh, good for you.
Saturday morning.
That was a wonderful presentation you put on, Tom. I can't thank you enough for it.
Oh, no, glad to help. But Saturday morning, I said, early, I said, Joe, how you doing? He goes, Mr. Murphy is living in this hotel, a whole series of things went wrong from speakers that had, last minute serious situations couldn't come.
Right.
But Joe, why don't you give us an overview? Joe Dugan is the driving force with Jim. What's Jim's last name? Gwynn? You're the president of the Tea Party.
I'm the chairman of the board of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party,
right,
and also the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition coordinator, and also the state coordinator for South Carolina of the National Tea Party Patriots, headed up by Jenny Beth Martin.
Okay, now the gentleman that picked me up,
Jim Gunn.
Yeah. What is he's the
president of the Myrtle Beach Tea Party.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You guys did an amazing job organizing this thing, right? And we know we've at the United West, we've put on events, and you go nuts with these things. How do you feel about it? Give us a quick overview, and then we'll get into some of the detail.
Well, I am absolutely delighted. As you say, there are problems that come up that you have to deal with. But I think from the audience's point of view, they did not see the problems. We were able to rectify so many of them so that they didn't hold up our schedule. We went on like clockwork. When you looked at our program, you could feel very confident that the speaker that you were looking for would be speaking at the time that we stated. And the presentations, Tom, I just thought they were absolutely incredible. You could tell that every one of our speakers knew the significance of what we were trying to do at this event, and they were really well prepared and informed our attendees and armed them with the knowledge that they can now take out to other Tea Party's members in their groups. And, of course, we had the whole thing live streamed on the Internet, and each speaker's presentation is available at livestream.com. If you search for South Carolina Tea Party, you can see all those presentations, and I'm absolutely, totally pleased with the way everything turned out.
And what was the title? Well, tell the folks the title, and then explain how you selected the speakers to support the title of the convention, and then where you're going with this.
Okay, the title that we chose for the convention was A State of the Union, a Constitutional Perspective. And what we started out by looking at the most severe crises that our country is facing at this moment in history. And we came up with a list of about 13 of them. And they were everything from national security to Agenda 21 to our pending fiscal collapse, unless we do something really quickly, to the Constitution itself. And it's all of these issues we found really come back to the Constitution, which is the law of this land. And when we lived by those principles and obeyed the law of this land, we were the most successful country in the history of the world.
Amen.
Yeah.
And now even though the people in power take an oath to the Constitution, 5 minutes later they're breaking their oath with their actions.
That's right.
And they're trying to form a different society, not based on the principles of liberty and free markets and individual initiative and rewarding success. And it just boggles my mind that we have so many examples in modern times and throughout history where when you revert to a socialist Marxist state, you equalize everybody except the elite that are running it, and you destroy the initiative of those who had talents that they would have liked to have developed, because they're only going to be able to be rewarded the same way as the people who are content to sit on their couches with their full stomachs full and get a check mailed to their door.
No, you're 100% right, Joe Dugan, and this is Tom Trento. It's 23 minutes past 4 o'clock on the East Coast. We're here in Florida. We're back in the studio after Tom, me, was up with Joe in South Carolina. Joe, you had beautiful weather. Let me tell you, man, you couldn't get better weather. It was 75 sunny every day and 60 or so in the evening. We're with Mark and Mike. If you'd like to speak to Joe Dugan, was a whole host of labels of what he does, but he's the prime driver between the country's first real significant Tea Party event. It was this past weekend, 12/13, Saturday, Sunday in Myrtle Beach at the Spring Maid Resort. Perfect facility for it with a long pier that went out. People walked out to the pier. I went out last night, Joe, about 8 or 9 o'clock, just took a walk, smoking a cigar, and some Spanish people were up there. I know they're Spanish because they were speaking in Spanish, and they got all excited when an old lady caught a stingray, a little baby stingray, and I took pictures of it. They pulled it in, and one of the guys knew how to handle it real well. He took it off, took the hook out, held it by the back of its, like over here somehow, and gave it to it was his mother to throw it back in the ocean. She's going, no, 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 and he made her throw it in, and it was a very cool moment. But we had those kind of moments. But you put that title together, and then you had an array of speakers that went from hard right evangelical Christian preacher types to the president of the Ayn Rand Society, basically saying there is no God, we do it ourselves. It was wonderful. How'd you get all these great speakers?
Well, we spoke to them about what we were trying to do, and we have to begin telling the American people the truth about what is happening to their country. And the press doesn't do it for us, so we are going to have to send out that message ourselves. And people need to understand. I don't think that. I think that the message sells itself if we could just find receptive ears. It's not a mystery that this country has been the most successful in history because our foundation is the Constitution and as the law of the land. And it gives people the freedom and the liberty to succeed without having to redistribute their wealth to the people who don't succeed.
888-565-1470. If you want to speak to Joe Dugan, as Mark and CJ do.
Yes.
I got a couple of things I want to do, and then I'll hand it over to you guys.
Okay.
888-565-1470. You can speak directly to Joe Dugan, the organizer of the South Carolina State Convention. He had Nikki Haley, the governor, on video because her husband was deployed just the other day to Afghanistan. She couldn't make it, but she put this beautiful 20-minute video together. Joe, what are you going to do? Now, you had a nice event. Everybody's happy. They all go away charged up. What are you doing to ensure that this event will have an impact in culture and in the legislature?
We're going to do several things. First and perhaps foremost, we're going to edit the raw footage and get the best of what the presenters had to say and put that in a package that we are going to present to Congress, asking them to consider incorporating these common sense, real pragmatic solutions to the problems facing America in the first 6 months of 2013 in their legislation. One of the other things that we are trying to do is set an example for other states to do what we did. I would love to see every state in the country have a Tea Party coalition and get the groups working together and put on conventions like this so that they can inform the leaders in the Tea Party and, through them, the membership and the general public. I did receive a lot of inquiries yesterday about how different states can do this, and we'd be happy to work with them.
Beautiful. There were many highlights of the event, and it was moving so quickly that, there's one highlight, then the next speaker's there, and there's another highlight. But one of the highlights was Senator Tim Scott. I mean, he is an amazing guy. How'd you get him, and is he the real deal or what?
Tim Scott and I go back a long way. I helped him on his campaign in 2010. In fact, he was endorsed by the Myrtle Beach Tea Party. We in Myrtle Beach, it was part of the 1st Congressional District until this year, when the new 7th Congressional District was formed. And so Tim was our congressman. And I have been working very closely with his chief of staff and deputy chief of staff since he has been elected. And we've just been so proud of the 4 conservative congressmen that we have in South Carolina who are willing to take a stand for freedom on so many issues in Congress, leading the way, and that relationship has continued. So we reached out to him, and at first he had commitments that he could not get out of, but then he was able to work it out so that he could fly in. And as it turned out, because the fog was so heavy in Charleston on Sunday morning, he actually had to drive for 2 hours from Charleston. He could not fly to come up to our event and then drive 2 hours back to Charleston. Wow. So that tells you it was an event he really wanted to be at.
Well, he tore the place up, that's for sure. I mean, he is a rock star. One other, we're going to take a call in a minute, but one other very unique idea Joe had was he had two fully printed on parchment declarations of independence.
It was actually the Constitution.
Oh, the Constitution. What am I saying? The Constitution. And but behind the podium, and you can see it in the videos there, behind the podium, he had tables set up where we sat as the panelists, and on the table were the two parchments of the Constitution. Every speaker, after they finish, he asked to sign the Constitution. I am a signer of the United States Constitution.
Oh, cool.
And he was raffling one off, and then they were keeping one for posterity. Now, I missed the raffle because with these kind of conventions, you meet somebody, you have a side meeting here and there. What happened with the raffling of that? Because I wanted that thing. What happened to it?
I know. There was a lady that won the raffle. I was involved in other things, so I don't recall her name. But even after, and Tom, it would be, we would be remiss if we did not mention the fabulous entertainment that we had during the convention with recording artist Gail Bliss and Madison Rising in a Saturday evening concert. And then the convention ended with Todd Allen Herendeen and his band, and we invited all of those professional artists to sign the Constitution along with us.
Oh, it was very cool. And it was wonderful seeing Madison Rising, which is a young rock and roll band doing Americana patriotic
they're
music.
really good. I like them
very
a lot.
good, but they're hard rock. I mean, you know.
Yeah, no, I like them.
And
because they're hard rock.
75-year-old ladies jumping up and down, screaming in the audience. It was very cool. All right, Joe, let me open it up for. Well, let's get Bob, and then we'll get you guys. Who do we have? CJ on the phone.
We have Bob on the line.
Okay.
How you doing, Bob? You're with Tom, CJ, Mike, Mark, and Joe Dugan from South Carolina, where Doyle is pronounced Dole.
Dole.
What a string of guests. Okay. What I want to ask Joe, are you there?
Yes.
What I want to ask Joe basically is, I really believe that the Tea Party needs a basic national platform. It's very ambiguous. It seems like every Tea Party is independent, every state is independent in terms of Tea Party, and it's all over the place. And there's got to be a clear platform. Now, it doesn't have to be a specific platform, but we all have to know that, hey, these are the 10 basic tenets. For example, pro-Constitution, pro-Israel, anti-Sharia, anti-abortion, etc. But if we had a basic foundation to work from, people could get stronger behind the effort rather than the ambiguity that it seems to be out there in with all the different sections and even Tea Parties fighting each other. So if you had a basic platform to go from, then we could start supporting it and kind of get our act together. But we need something. And have a special leader, maybe like Tom Trento or Alan West. Alan West would be ideal, and if you could do that. Now, JC is shaking her head up and down, yes, but she owes me cookies. She said something about chocolate chip cookies earlier.
Oh,
and when Tom talked
Did you
about
make?
donating
Did
this
you make a
morning.
donation?
That was Robert.
Mike and Robert.
Okay.
So you're saying you want chocolate chip?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have to mail them to you, or do you live locally?
Yeah. Anybody has a donation, and CJ will mail you
She will
chocolate
mail
chip. We will promise CJ
From
for that.
Arizona.
You're in Arizona. Okay.
All right. We will front the postage for you.
Send your
CJ.
address to Tom at TrentoVision.tv. The cookies
The
are on their
cookies
way,
are
Bob.
coming. Thank you.
That's a 10-4. Thank you, folks.
All right, thanks. Hey, Joe, he's got a great question, Joe, and we know there's an internal debate over this. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thought is that the Tea Party platform is the United States Constitution, and that if you want to name, to add to that, I would say that the 10 points are the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and especially the 10th Amendment. And the Tea Parties are not a political party. It is a grassroots movement, bottom up. We are not necessarily looking for a national leader to lead us. I'll give you a very quick example.
That lets you off the hook, Tom.
That's good.
Yeah, you got to stay on the radio.
When Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House, he had a program which he called a contract with America,
Right, which you helped write, didn't you,
Congress-
Tom?
Not right.
which promised what Congress was going to do for the American people. Well, FreedomWorks has come out with, in the last couple of years, the contract from America. And the difference is the contract from America tells Congress what we, the people, want them to do. We don't want to hear what they're going to do. We want to tell them what to do.
All right, well, somebody else likes to tell people what to do. Why don't you bring her on, CJ?
Yeah, we have Danita on the line. Hi, Danita.
Say hello to Joe.
Hey, how's everyone today?
Good,
Hey,
good.
Danita.
How was your event this weekend?
My what?
Your event on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, wonderful. Those guys were fabulous. I love them.
Good, good.
They liked it, too.
Our guests,
They had fun.
from Thursday's show were at Danita's.
I heard about that.
Yeah, Danita's event this weekend.
Danita, have you met Joe personally, or have you guys
No,
spoken?
I have not.
You guys are cut from the same cloth in many respects.
Yep.
Joe, Danita runs the Fort Lauderdale Tea Party and works very closely with us on a lot of the Sharia stuff. You guys got to get to
Danita.
know each other for sure.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. What's your question for Joe?
Well, I don't have one. I just wanted to offer up our Tea Party charter, which I read to you, which includes all of the things that were just said about what makes up a Tea Party. We have that. We know exactly why we're here and what we're for and what we're going to do.
What do you? I remember you did read it one day. Do you have it with you, or do you know it, or can you hit some of the high points?
Well, yeah, talk to me for just a second, and I will bring it right up.
Okay, that sounds good. It's very interesting.
'Cause we
This whole conversation is very interesting to me because Peter Feynman
Friday
was our guest host while you were in South Carolina, and Peter is the national committeeman for the Republican Party representing Florida. He's getting ready to go to their winter meeting in North Carolina, and he was also on the platform committee for the RNC convention this August in 2012. Now, what I'm curious about is how do all these different Tea Party groups
Put
work at
pressure
the state
on-
and
yeah,
local
yeah.
level to influence the Republican Party? Because a lot of the things that Joe is talking about, that used to be what the Republican Party stood for,
Exactly.
and a lot of us think no longer does. How do we exert pressure on that party if really, in fact, there's no interest in having a national Tea Party that is a
Good
third
point.
party antidote to the Republican Party?
Okay.
Well, wouldn't it be neat if there was?
Well, hang on, Joe. Mark's going to say something,
well-
then we'll put this all together. Get Mark.
Well, wouldn't it be neat if there's like a place like a Tea Party community where people could go and interact
What a good idea.
and socialize and put in their ideas and have each individual state chapter and have 50 different segments where that they could do all
You're
that?
setting up bureaucracy.
Huh?
No.
No.
No, I'm saying a Tea Party community online where everybody could go up and interact and come up with different ideas. What your idea is, what your idea is, and kind of interact in a kind of a Facebooky way.
So people who are Tea Party interested people from the state of Arizona, for instance, where we have a donor, at least one, and the state of Florida could interact
And
online.
the state of South Carolina can interact
and
online.
all you really need to do is mail cookies, but
be-
everything else you could do online.
To be less vague, Danita, we're helping build Tea Party community, an amazing social networking tool that will provide an opportunity without the censorship of Facebook for Tea Party people to share ideas, share thoughts, share successes, share defeats, all of that in a very sophisticated format. We're going to be launching it in a couple of weeks. And
it's already online,
yeah.
so you can go check it out if you want to.
Yeah, teapartycommunity.com. Non-bureaucratic, just the opposite. Very fluid.
Okay.
But go ahead, share your stuff, and then we'll have Joe comment on all this.
All right. Mission of Tea Party Fort Lauderdale: reduce the scope of government and its intrusion on the freedom and liberty of the individual. Encourage the strict interpretation of the Constitution. Reduce government spending. Demand lower taxes. Reduce the national debt and federal budget deficit. Maintain a strong national defense. Protect unalienable rights as given by our Creator. Promote local and state political objectives. support candidates with Tea Party Fort Lauderdale principles and strong moral character, expose groups whose actions threaten the United States of America, promote the education of the people as to our founding documents to include the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Federalist Papers, and other writings.
Sounds
Sounds
good
great to me, yeah. What do you think of that, Joe?
Well, I think that we're in sync here.
Yep.
That's what all of the issues that we discussed during the convention. You can relate them back to the Constitution, and it's the violations of the Constitution and of each of these people who are constantly violating their oath. And in my opinion, we ought to be prosecuting some of them for perjury.
Amen.
Misprision
Some
of
of them
treason?
should be, yeah. Some of them should be prosecuted for treason, actually.
Misprision of treason,
Absolutely.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to use that word on your show today, but I will.
I will.
I will use the word perjury.
Perjury.
Well, I was actually be more specific. I was actually saying misprision of treason, which is knowing that this is going to destroy the Constitution, you're doing nothing about it. Absolutely, or you should, that you're in the position of power to have the
Problem
responsibility.
is,
to know
the
it.
prosecutors are the violators, the ones who are who were supposed to be
Yeah, what do you
prosecuting.
do when the Attorney General
Yeah.
is one of the violators?
Well, Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, gave this wonderful, rousing, motivational speech. Then he concluded with one sentence. He says, "Oh, and by the way, if there's any effort by this administration to mess with the Second Amendment," he says, "they got to fight on their hands with me." You know, he left like that, which was very interesting. I'll put you two guys together, Danita and Joe.
Okay.
And we'll tell you, when we, and we'll give you some information on this Tea Party community thing
Okay.
that we're working on.
That sounds good, because keep in mind, most of the Tea Parties are about taxed enough already, and I get mail all the time telling me how I'm fracturing the integrity of the Tea Party, etc. So, whatever.
I don't
that's why
believe
I don't
that.
belong to anybody else's anything.
Yeah, Joe had 23 speakers covering a panoply of critically important
I heard.
issues
that
went
sounds great.
way
Yeah.
beyond taxing.
I'll
And
talk to Joe, and we'll figure out how to get that done down here.
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm going to email you a copy of the agenda that they had also.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That'd be
I'll
good.
actually do that now.
Wow,
Okay,
sounds-
thank you.
Sounds like
Okay.
you got a little
Talk to
Tea
y'all
Party
later.
community go on right now here. How
yeah.
about that?
And we have a United West director in Georgia. So Florida, Georgia, now we connect South Carolina.
Yep.
And then Ben and those guys are from North Carolina.
Right.
So we're going right up the coast. Oh, and we got that crazy Texas state, too. We have Ann out in that crazy Texas state.
Yep.
So we can put some nice states together.
And understanding, we're not trying to create another Tea Party. We have no desire to create a Tea Party. We'd like to put
No.
all these different Tea Parties together so they can come out and have like
Well,
a
the
nice,
thing is, different localities in different states have different issues and
Right.
different needs besides the national ones, and what they need to do is learn the skills for working at the local and state level and having successes in those areas, and then connecting together to put pressure at a national level to
Right.
change
Yes.
things.
And-
That's exactly right.
And the show
That's exactly
exists.
right. After this past election, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in the past 5 minutes, we had Arizona, South Carolina, and Florida talking to one another
Right.
on the show. That's what our
Right.
show's about.
Because we are
Trento Vision.
We are Trento Vision. That's right. And we are the hub of the revolution.
So, Joe, what other thoughts would you like to leave
Yeah,
us
Joe
with?
wanted to comment on my question about the Republican Party, I think.
Yes, it was. I just wanted to say that I was absolutely delighted with the Republican Party platform,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what happened. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That's what I asked Peter. I said, your
Let him finish,
platform
let him
was
finish.
beautiful. I said, but it has nothing to do with the reality of what the Republican Party stands for.
I let Joe finish because we're pushing the clock here. Go ahead, Joe.
And I thought it was a tremendous, tremendous error on the part of the National Establishment Republican Party to forbid the words Tea Party to be used at all in the 5-day convention or in any of the interviews that were given afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tea Party was big enough after that slight to go out and work for Republican candidates, in spite of that, to fight a greater evil,
Right.
which is the Obama administration trying to destroy our culture, our heritage, our Constitution, and our way of life.
It's almost like a redheaded stepchild type of scenario. Yeah, we love you, you're our son, but
And
you
what
know.
we need to do is businessmen across the country need to understand that all their big donations that gave the Republican Party $1 billion and the Democratic Party $1 billion, the only people that they have working for their best interests are the people in the grassroots and the Tea Party. They $1 given to a Tea Party group would be spent so wisely that it would be the equivalent of $50 to $100 given to one of these bureaucratic parties that hire all kinds of consultants that tell them how not to get elected.
Yeah.
Yep. 100.
CJ and Peter Feynman on Friday, and Peter even identified these fat cat consultants.
Yeah.
They're the guys getting the $1 million a week salaries
Yeah.
and
throwing
media
the,
money.
And throwing the big, huge, lavish parties on the boats and everything.
Well, Joe,
Is Danita still on, or did she sign off?
I think she's on. You're there, Danita, right? Listening? Oh, she's signed off.
She's off. Okay.
Joe, two questions. One, obviously, the established Republican Party, Boehner and those guys, are looking down their noses at the Tea Party. Well, I say obviously. Do you think that's the case?
Well, they sure have forgotten the lesson of 2010 pretty quickly.
That's right.
Yeah, when Alan West wasn't asked to speak, our team was at the Republican National Convention for the whole week. We did 39 hours or so of radio. When Alan West was not even visible, he wasn't. He was
Where's
nowhere.
Michelle Bachmann?
Yeah, neither of them had any position with anything. It was very evident that there was, let's keep this to this center right movement here with center with Mitt Romney.
Let's hide our ugly child.
Who is the highest ranked Tea Party member in Congress that has some cachet, that has some respect?
Well, it was Senator DeMint. There are many that are very great leaders and believe in the Constitution and Tea Party values. The names that come to mind are Louis Gohmert, Senator Rand Paul, Michelle Bachmann, anybody on the Tea Party caucus in the House.
All gadflies, according to the rhinos, basically.
Yeah. They get slammed down by the Republicans
By Boehner
anytime they
and
speak
all,
up.
at all.
Yeah.
Congressman Jordan, and the congressman from South Carolina, Mick Mulvaney, Trey Gowdy, Jeff Duncan.
He was great too, Duncan. Yeah. Okay, so now you're going to produce a DVD. Tell us about that, and then we'll let you go and get back to work because I know there's a lot of follow up to this stuff.
Yes, we're going to be producing a DVD, and we'll be working on editing that and going into production so that we will have a set for every member of Congress. And I hope to get, when that is ready, I hope to have an official press conference and presentation to Congress of that. And I would encourage every one of the groups that were represented by the speakers at our convention to join us in Washington and stand behind this.
When will that be? Tea Party community thing. When will that be?
I cannot give you a date because I don't know the extent of the editing.
Well, when you get that done, we'll release it on the Tea Party community. We'll do bring you on.
Make a lot of noise
Make
about
a lot of noise about that. That's good.
What's next for Joe Dugan and the South Carolina Tea Party, where Doyle is pronounced Dole? What's next?
Thank you, Tom.
What's next for you?
What's next for me?
Yes.
I need to get reacquainted with my wife.
Yes, that is.
Hey, I have one thing. Do not go out and play golf down there at Myrtle Beach. It's the worst place in the world to play golf. I went down there. That's where they flew the Wright. I mean, beautiful area, but that's where the Wright brothers flew the plane. Off the beaches and all that area up there. So you try to hit a ball, it's like 30 miles an hour wind and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I've been up there, I've had a 30-mile-an-hour wind.
There are 100 golf courses in Myrtle Beach.
I know, I'm teasing. No, it's actually a beautiful place to play golf. It's actually, anytime you want to invite me to play golf, Joe, you let me know. I'll be there in a heartbeat.
Oh, you will not. You got to stay here and go to work.
You could have played golf this weekend. The weather would have been beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful up there.
If it weren't for trying to save this pesky republic, we could all have fun, couldn't we?
There's a poster. I took a picture of it this morning at the Myrtle Beach Airport.
Yeah.
It's a poster of a green with a sand trap, and the ball's in a sand trap.
Right.
And it says, "If you're having a bad day, go to Atlantic City." It was great. So yeah, it's a big golf area. Yeah. All right, Joe Dugan, any other thoughts, you guys? Or Joe, you want to leave us with a concluding thought, and we'll let you go?
Well, I would like to leave you with this thought, that we had some very serious discussions over the weekend, but we also had a fabulous time. It was great to meet with other Tea Party leaders and members who are like-minded. And the entertainment just made it so much fun that I did not hear a single complaint. And I cannot tell you how many people were asking me, are we going to do it next year? When are we going to do it? Can you give us a date now? And that kind of encouragement is just what's needed for keeping the foot soldiers going.
Yeah. Well, I found by and large that Tea Party supporters tend not to be whiners and complainers to begin with.
No, yeah. Although I am going to whine a little bit, because we are on the front lines and we need a supply line, and our supply line is pretty thin. So the people across America, if you want to remain a constitutional republic, you need to start supporting your local Tea Party groups. We understand that you have to work in your businesses to keep this economy going, but you also have to do your part financially to help save America.
Amen.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
Joe
you,
Dugan,
Joe.
thank you very much. You did a phenomenal job,
Yep.
and we're here to help however we can.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, take
That's Joe
care.
Dugan.
Have a good rest.
Yeah.
For a day. You
he-
get one day off.
He deserves it. I mean, he was involved in every one of the presentations
I'm jealous,
and all of that.
I should have traded places. Well, you had more fun up there.
Yeah, we had fun.
No, I mean, with the
They probably had more wine and
competition.
cigars than you did at the Christian
I had none.
conference.
I had none. I had no wine, no
Yeah,
cigars.
no wine, no cigars.
Not really. We went to lunch once or twice, but it's a very hectic thing from the morning to the night and all of that. And then Frank Gaffney came in for just about a half a day. He came in, did his presentation, signed books, and then he had to leave. So we tried to meet a little bit, and it was good. It was fun for sure. What the fun part is being with like-minded people who get it. And
No.
one of the downsides was if you would have been there, Invisible Mike, you would have been like, oh, we got a guy in diapers here, I mean, it was probably 80 years old, 82, 83, down to maybe
Was interesting in the
45.
Yeah, it wasn't. That wasn't the typically the crowd over at the event we were at. I mean, it was still an older crowd, but it still.
Oh,
wasn't,
really? What was the average age of this was probably 60.
Yeah,
55, 60.
Yeah,
what was
pushed the bar down to like 40 to
Really?
40 to 60. It was
that's
younger.
that's
crowd.
very interesting. But that demographic, that 35 to 18, there's no Tea Party stuff going on there. That's the 20%. 80% of them are Obama parties. That's what that is. So we got to break into that somehow.
Yep.
I don't know how. Anybody know how? 888-565-1470. But you can't
But
tell
you
us
have to
now.
call after the break.
Yeah,
You
you
have to
can't
wait
tell
till
us
after the break.
now. We'll be after the break. We'll pick up more of this. I'll tell you, I'll give you my talk in little bits and pieces. I'll give you the things I said that resulted in, what are those things called again? When they stand up on their feet and they yell and cheer?
Standing
Oh,
ovation.
I'll tell you about how those happen. But right now, we got to go away. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-55